Hey, this is D-Night.
This is Carol. This is Ty.
Listening to the Pardon the Insurrection podcast, where we're not hopefully laboring in vain trying to get Kamala Harris elected president in November. Speaking of which, happy belated Labor Day to all of our podcast listeners. Hope you got to take it easy, and if you didn't, I at least hope you got double
that
pay.
time and a half.
Yeah, time and a half.
Double pay.
Double
nice.
pay. Where I work, thanks to our union, I believe we get double pay on most holidays if we do happen to work. So kudos to all the labor organizations out there that are making life slightly better for the average American who has to get out here and slave away every day and can't just sell shoes and Bibles and hats and digital trading cards and also physical cards with their suit if you buy $7,500 worth or something.
Nice.
Yeah, anyway, so it's campaign season. It's in full gear at this point. Normally we'll talk about all of the social or legal issues surrounding the Trump campaign or, the state of the Biden and now Harris campaign. And apparently the number of stories from last week dragging over into this week will try and cover some of that, but we have a lot of developments in terms of campaign events from the Harris campaign. She was out on the campaign trail as of Monday, along with President Biden and Tim Walz. Trump was nowhere to be found. I don't know what their campaign is doing, but clearly they're not engaged in trying to win this election with votes because they're not actually doing anything. All their ground operations have practically come to a halt. They're not spending any money. Laura Trump's supposed to be running the RNC. Instead, she's out here trying to be a pop star.
Sorry. I can't wait to see or hear that.
Yeah, Taylor Slow, as we like to call her, because nothing about her is Swift. But let's take a little peek at what Kamala Harris was up to out on the campaign trail earlier this week.
Because, of course, that's the nature of who we are as Americans. We have dreams. We can see what is possible unburdened by what has been. We have aspirations. We have ambitions. And the system that is a good system is one that supports that and allows people the opportunity to go where they can see and imagine themselves to be. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about an opportunity economy. We fight for a future where every senior can retire with dignity. And so we will continue to defend Social Security and Medicare and pensions.
Amen, sis. You tell them. So she's got her policy message ready to go. Of course, it's been truncated for a crowd there. It's a apt speech to give on Labor Day. She's been out there killing it. I mean, like her arenas are slam packed. Again, like people are making this comparison to 2008 Obama. It's actually crazier than 2008 Obama, just because in terms of the number of people at these rallies, especially like that one in Savannah, Georgia, where, clearly it's surrounded by a bunch of red districts. They didn't have enough room. But yeah, Harris is out here doing her thing. She's not the only one. She was flanked by President Biden also earlier this week, who's out on the campaign stump along with her. I consider him to be, at this point, her secret weapon. She's got a sitting president and to join her out on the campaign trail.
She'll be a historic pro-union president. So, folks, we got one more job to do together. Let me ask you, are you ready to fight? Yeah! Are you ready to win? Yeah! Are you ready to elect Kamala Harris our next president of the United States of America? And in the process, are you ready to make Donald Trump a loser again?
Biden's funny. I don't know what their relationship was like, early on the campaign trail in 2020. But clearly over the over the course of the past 4 years, they have what appears to be grown fairly close. Why are you smiling at me like that, Carol?
I was just thinking about how Biden really didn't drop out of the race and how he's dead and that guy's AI and it's deep fake. I was just thinking back to that. You remember everyone's like, he's definitely dead. That call where he called in was fake and no, that's a fake guy now. Everything is AI.
I mean, I feel like they kill him every year, at least once. Because I remember in 2020, so remember, like everything shut down because of COVID. So Biden stopped campaigning. In that week, they were like setting up the gear in his house to do those broadcasts from his basement, famously. It was the leftists out there being like, "Oh, where is Joe Biden? He must have died. COVID must have killed him off or something." And anyway, and then once he won the election, they were like, it wasn't actually Biden. These were the Trumpers. It's a Joe Biden body double. He's not actually the president of the United
States. It's always something. One thing I did notice, like when they hugged, she had her head on his, like that was such a real and genuine moment. It's like he's her mentor in this. Yeah. And you can see the genuine admiration, love, and respect that she has for Joe Biden. It is palpable. It's not.
Oh, because let's be real. She don't let nobody else do no shit like that. If you've noticed, I mean, I know it's probably not anything. It's not anything a lot of people pay attention to, but like that kind of not like intimacy in terms of.
Well, yeah, no, I get it.
But yeah,
familiarity.
Yeah, she doesn't
outside of her family, like outside of her
family, she don't let people like get into her physical space.
Yeah,
like that in that way. And again, like I said, like this is just in terms of noticing some growth between 2020 and now. Like they developed a real relationship. Now I know, Biden and Obama had it rough the first couple of years, because it was readily apparent that Obama didn't pick Biden because they had the best relationship. He picked him because he thought he was like the safest possible vice presidential candidate. And that's a totally legitimate and understandable reason to choose a vice president. Like,
I mean, rarely do you see, look at Bush and Bush 1 and Reagan. They weren't that either.
They didn't kick it like
and
that.
I that is one thing that is different about the Harris-Walz ticket is they do seem to be very
kindred spirits.
Yeah, they are. And I see that, but then who can't not love him? No, I mean, he would wear her down. If she tried to be stone cold, he would have worn her down either way. Anyway.
He is an adorable dude. He would have done
it with a turkey leg and some Doritos. Man. Like, he probably would have crushed those Doritos and rolled that turkey leg in them.
And deep fried it. Yeah. No, he's an adorable dude. Like, I can see, again, after the pick, it was so obvious that he was the right choice that I was like, there was clearly no mistake that she could have made in choosing any other potential candidates on the list, but he was definitely the right one. But yeah, also we have a video of Biden destroying Trump on his union stance that I thought was like, oh yeah, if we had just gotten more of this Joe Biden at the debate, he'd still be the candidate and probably be on his way to winning re-election. But hey, I guess you have one bad day can cost you the chance to be president.
It wasn't the one bad day. It was the weeks of the hammering of him.
Yes.
Yeah. It wasn't, because if everybody had just moved the fuck on, day or two, couple days, and then people stood solidly behind him, then they would have moved on, because they would have seen that it wasn't working. Just like they are with the 50 things they've tried to throw at Walz and Harris. But when they started seeing people falter and waver, they were like, okay.
Yeah, turn into a
They threw the dog a bone, basically.
Yeah.
And then they took it and ran with it until he dropped out.
Well, this is the Biden that I wish we would have gotten on debate night, but here we are.
She'll be a historic pro-union president.
Oh, wait.
So
that was the wrong one. Hold on, let me try again.
You know what? It may sound crazy, but I honestly think that the way that things played out, however we feel about the way they played out, this is the moment that was supposed to be for this moment in time. Because while people would have stood behind Biden, I don't think that it would have been this type of energy, this type of enthusiasm. And that right now is what's going to get us over the finish line. I think that he basically has set Kamala up for 2028, because I don't know how things would have fared at the end of his presidency moving into 2028 if Kamala would have been where we would be then. This is our moment.
And we'll tackle that in just a second.
Folks, we made a lot of progress, and Kamala and I are going to build on that progress, and she's going to build on it. I'll be on the sidelines, but I'll do everything I can to help. So look, I'm not joking when I say, this is not a joke. When I said this when I was running in 2020, a lot of people didn't believe me. You did, but didn't believe me. It's all at risk because of Donald Trump, literally. With a stroke of the pen, he can get rid of a lot of this. And do you think this guy gives a damn about your pensions? No, I'm serious. Do you think he loses even an instant of sleep over it? Do you think he cares about all the work you do every day and how hard it is? No. Do you think he cares about good paying jobs for hardworking people who built this economy? No. Hell. He regards picket lines. He'd rather cross one than walk one.
Yeah.
I like that.
Damn.
Yeah.
Right?
Spitting
Spitting that hot fire.
Yeah, I wish we had gotten that guy a month and a half ago. But so in terms of excitement, I think here's the thing. I don't know what it is about the Democratic Party needing to fall in love with their candidate. I personally am I will just vote for the person who I think is most suited to do the job, which is typically in my entire lifetime has never been a Republican. But I do think so. Biden has advantages, or would have had advantages, that Kamala Harris doesn't. But obviously, Kamala Harris is a different candidate than Biden, and she has advantages in some places where he doesn't. I think in terms of just being straightforward, it would have been a lot easier to convince the same 81 million people who showed up to vote in 2020 and cast their vote for Joe Biden to just show up in 2024 and cast their vote for Joe Biden. Like the psychological hurdle of getting people to vote for a new candidate, it's a real thing. That's why campaigns even exist in the first place. But that's also why, typically in most situations, incumbents win.
Well, it's typically why when I'm supposed to call around for a contractor or anything, if I face the slightest hurdle, I'm pretty much done. And then I'll pretty much always just go with the first one,
Or
psychological hurdles.
Yeah. Or the one you always call, right? Like once you have an established relationship with one contractor, you're like, well, they did pretty good work.
I'll go a year without getting my hair cut because I just don't know who to call.
I had to get a replacement title for my car, and it's only $5. And I could have done it online and just sent it through, but where I registered my vehicle, my Honda, and then my Mercedes, who I've always dealt with, I paid $25 because they're an authorized contractor of the DMV. But I'm just a creature of habit, and I know they've got to make their money, for
but
what
don't
they
let habit have it. Get out there and vote for Kamala Harris.
So I went with her because I know the service is good. Patty knows what she's doing, et cetera. So I just rolled with that. But yeah, I get that. But however, the difference in this is it's not like Kamala was manifested out of thin air. She was the vice president. So that did give her some credibility, some cachet, some
a senator, state AG in the biggest state.
And that she has been there. She has been present in the room. She has met with world leaders. She's got that.
And let's not get it twisted. Biden embarked on one of the biggest campaigns to rebuild a country and its economy. In the last 100 years, she's been a part of every single meeting, every single decision-making process. She's got experience under her belt in a way that no other candidate would at this point. So it's not that she's not right for the job. It's just the difference between, the incumbent president versus, asking people to vote for a new candidate, even though she's already been on the ticket, obviously. And also, again, racism is a thing, sexism is a thing, patriarchy is a thing. It's just going to be a lot more difficult to get people to vote for a woman, specifically Black/Asian.
And that's so crazy because there's right now, there's 30 female heads of state around the world. You know what I mean? I mean,
America.
England had Margaret Thatcher before a woman being, and then even if you go back to the monarchy, and it's they had Queen
queens.
Elizabeth ruled for 50 freaking years.
Well, she just because she lived a long ass time.
Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Elizabeth II. And then you've got
the second. Well, she just became queen at a young age. That's why she just kicked it so long. But yeah,
I think the campaign should try to work both sides of of her ethnicity. They should also be well, the Trump campaign says she's not Black, so they could be Kamala Harris, not Black. Donald Trump. Kamala Harris, very beautiful. Donald Trump.
But on the flip side, though, this excitement about the Harris campaign is real. There is real, tangible information to suggest that while some people generally won't vote for her that might have voted for Biden, there are a lot of people who possibly weren't going to vote at all in the 2024 election that are going to come out to support Kamala Harris. Voter registration is up. The polling is flipped. She's now leading Trump in a number of highly respected polls by more than the margin of error. And in swing states, she's, if not tied, leading. So the Harris bump's been real, especially post-convention. She's out here killing it. All things considered,
Harris.
if Biden was going to drop out of the race, this has been the best possible turn of events, and it's largely thanks to his quick endorsement of her and her deciding to step to the plate and knock her campaign out of the park. Biden wasn't finished there, though. He did have a comment about his role in saving pensions in unions around the United States.
I'll tell you something. Kamala and I are damn proud that we protected the pensions of over 1 million workers and retirees. Remember all those years of promise we're going to do something about it? Well, damn it, we finally did with the Butch-Lewis Act. Over 52,000 workers and retirees across Pennsylvania alone are benefiting from that. Not only did we restore the full amount, we got them their back pay as well. We made them whole again.
I like this guy.
As everyone said,
I don't know. I think he could have been president.
Deal.
You don't say. But yeah, so personally speaking, I work for a company where the hourly employees are unionized largely, and Biden saved my pension. So kudos to that guy. Anybody out there who says this guy isn't doing anything for the American people is a fucking lie.
Yeah,
I can tell you.
No, you're absolutely
ways.
right. And he saved the Teamsters pensions too.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He saved their pensions. And so when people say, what has he done for Black people? Unions are a huge factor in the building of the Black middle class back in the day.
Yeah. Well, no, not Absolutely. Even back in the day, just still the unions and government employment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what pisses me off is that people feel like because he did not say this bill is specifically for you, Black people.
Yeah.
That he didn't do. What do you think lifting children out of poverty is? What do you think the investment in education is when 70% of those in public schools are Black and brown, fighting against the vouchers, fighting for the funding, the fully funding of our public schools, so it's miss me with that
just
bullshit.
Raising the minimum wage to $15 for federal employees and contractors. That was like it doesn't say it at the top of the paper, but if you just look at the percentage of federal employees and how I think we're close to 50-50 split, even though we're like, 12% of the population or so, that largely, it disproportionately benefited black people. So if you're like, oh, Biden's never done anything for the black community, you would be drastically wrong.
Exactly.
But outside of the Harris campaign, Trump's not been doing too many campaign events here lately. He's been super low energy. It doesn't seem to have the motivation or the commitment to get out on the campaign trail. The media was obsessed with Biden's age and why he wasn't out campaigning more. Now Trump isn't doing anything at all. The media's not covering that. But he did do an interview with Mark Levin or Mark Levin. I'm not sure.
Levin.
Yeah, Mark Levin. I don't know. I'm thinking exactly. Anyway,
low energy Trump.
Yeah, low energy Trump. Well, he did do an interview.
He also, people forget he didn't want to do any work while he was president either.
That's true.
No, he largely spent it watching TV, running his businesses, and at his various golf resorts.
Yeah. And when I say people, I mean his voters. Like, obviously, we know he wasn't the best case scenario when he was president was that he wasn't doing anything.
No,
that day. That was the best case scenario.
But so he did this interview on Fox News with Mark Levin and it just went off the rails totally. It's just a lot of insane comments, underreported by the media. And we've got numerous examples for you starting here.
Whoever heard you get indicted for interfering with a presidential election where you have every right to do it? You get indicted and your poll numbers go up. When people get indicted, your poll numbers go down.
Well, first of all, that sounds like a confession to me. Going on national TV and telling the host that you interfered in a federal election that you're currently indicted for and you have the right to do it. That sounds like basically confession. I hope they enter that in the evidence.
Not only a confession, it's also permission. Because they've been screaming that Joe Biden has been interfering in the election with this election interference when it comes to all of his court cases. So, according to Joe,
which is it, dude?
Yeah, every right to do it.
Yeah,
so
pick a lane, bro. Is it okay or not? If it's okay, then the accusations you've been levying against Biden fall super flat. Also, like he talks about whoever's heard of getting indicted and then your poll numbers go up. Well, sir, your poll numbers are going down. You're now losing to Kamala Harris by somewhere near the margin that you lost to President Biden by in 2020. So you might want to update those polls, sir. Yeah. And I do blame the media for like minimizing the impact of the fact that we have a convicted. Well, I mean, obviously, technically you don't become a convicted felon until sentencing, but he's been convicted of multiple felonies and the media has just totally erased that narrative from the way they present the news coverage on
but
the
Biden
election.
Was old.
It kills my soul.
When's that sentencing? I thought we were going to get it in August.
The 18th?
Yeah, it got postponed thanks to the Supreme Court until September, and we're just a few weeks away from that. But also, we have a video here of Trump attacking Kamala Harris, just in classic fashion, just not extraordinarily tasteful.
Like, I've never seen anything like it. Look at the way she fought justice.
Okay, that is the choppiest clip I've ever seen. Let me mute myself.
And it keeps stopping when he's doing his fish lips. Have you noticed that he doesn't really open his mouth all the way when he's talking like this? Have you noticed that?
Yes.
That is so distracting to me. And I've noticed that in his past few, like when he's talking and stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. Let me give
people like I've never seen anything like it. Look at the way she fought Justice Kavanaugh, the viciousness and the violence.
Yeah, just calling her vicious and violent. I mean, Trump's got this weird thing where he feels like if there's any woman with any kind of spine whatsoever, that it's somehow like an atrocity. Like, totally disrespectful towards women in
The
general.
violent comment is also just fucking disgusting because it's like
It's
violent against the
disgusting
man.
and it's just
What is it
flat out
violent like
wrong.
holding down someone and while she screams and you try to, rape her at a party? No
Or-
good. I'm talking about Kavanaugh here. And he's
Or-
fucking saying sorry.
or
I just
trying to-
offended.
And apparently
Essentially-
she treated Mike Pence worse than anybody.
We'll get to that in just a second. But yeah,
anybody who anybody asterisk.
it's not as though she sexually assaulted someone at a department store like one presidential candidate we know. Oh wait, that was Trump. But yeah, Trump went on to say even more insane, ridiculous things like how he didn't appreciate the way she treated Mike Pence.
But I agreed to all these things that I normally wouldn't agree to. Now they have Kamala, who they say has many deficiencies, but she's a nasty person. The way she treated Mike Pence was horrible. The way she treats people is horrible. But the way she treated Justice Kavanaugh during that hearing, in the history of Congress, nobody's been treated that way. Well,
Ketanji Brown Jackson would like the word. Okay, that's all I'm gonna
The
say.
history of Congress.
I
How
mean,
many
like,
hours of emails, testimony from the emails lady?
wait, I'm sorry. If we're talking about Mike Pence being mistreated, whose supporters were at the Capitol on January 6th? Chanting, hang Mike Pence. Those weren't Harris supporters.
Who continually called him a pussy, called him a bitch, tweeted about him, said he was weak, he didn't have courage.
Yeah, when he was in the dining room in the Oval Office on January 6th and he was told that his supporters were chanting, hang Mike Pence, and he responded with, maybe he deserves it or something along those lines. So, yeah, like this idea that he thinks Kamala Harris is just wrong for the way she treats Mike. Get the fuck out of here. The reason why Mike Pence is no longer his running mate is because Trump tried to have him killed. Get the fuck out of here.
I wish people would ask that question.
Hey, you want the media to do their jobs?
Well, do you think if Mike Pence were willing to keep getting kicked over and over again, that Trump would have had him? I mean, I know it costs a little bit to change the signs, a couple letters, but do you think Trump would have had him? Because he knows he's not going to, at the end, he probably wouldn't, gun to his head, he'd do whatever, but
I believe
not going to throw the election to him.
I believe that if Pence's family hadn't been in danger on January 6th, Pence would have been kissing his ass and would have signed right up for, Trump Pence round 3.
No, I'm not asking if Pence would have agreed. I'm asking.
Oh, if Trump would have picked Pence again?
Yeah, if I'm sorry, I did say if Pence had agreed, but it was like the antecedent clause. Then do you think that Trump would have had him? No. Unless he promised, I promise. Oh, I'll
he
definitely
would have relished in his weakness and his crawling and his groveling, and then he would have took his foot and put that lifted heel and pushed Mike Pence over the edge.
Yeah, thank you for the leg show, Carol. No, the reason why Trump wouldn't pick Pence again is because the most important quality in a vice presidential candidate in terms of Trump's priorities is, would you have stolen the election for me on January 6th? And because Pence would not, he was immediately eliminated from the list. And that is why Trump went with some. I mean, that's not the only reason why Trump went with Vance, but that would have been a disqualifying factor if Vance wouldn't have. But clearly, Vance said multiple times that Pence made the wrong decision in not certifying the false electors. But yeah, that would have been the requirement.
I honestly don't think that Trump had planned on picking a vice president at all. I'm
he was going to be the president and the vice president?
I don't. If he didn't have to pick one, I don't think he would have. I don't think that he would have. I don't think he had any plans because he obviously put no thought into it.
No,
because in his mind, what does a dictator need a vice dictator for? That's not a thing.
Right. No, he definitely picked Vance at the last minute. I'm sure he'd been weighing his options, but they did no vetting Vance whatsoever, and you know this because every 24-hour cycle, there's a news story about some horrific, stupid shit JD Vance did or said, or some picture of him in a wig or in drag, and they didn't even bother to like check his Facebook page back to college. But again, like the insanity with Trump, it never stops. There was obviously more. I mean,
or maybe they did check and they were like, nothing bad, just some regular, assault.
If Vance was a Democrat, they would have been able to tell you what type of fucking baby formula his mama used.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of oppo research they do on Dems,
Except
look at George Santos, look at RFK, look at Vance. When it comes to their own, they're just like, man.
I mean, we got a guy down here from Tennessee that's a House representative that just had his house raided by the FBI. He is the George Santos of the House. But back to Trump in this interview with Mark Levin. Just again, he wants credit. He wants credit for COVID.
We had the greatest economy in history. Then COVID came in, and we did a great job there. Never got the credit for that, but that's okay. But that was so bad for the whole world. $50 trillion in damage it caused. Every country was devastated, including China. They were just a later version of it.
China was a later version of being destroyed. China, who felt the immediate aftermath of.
Yeah, I mean, even though the virus originated in China, I don't know what credit he.
So crazy is that the Chinese people though, whenever they're sick, like when people you can go to Disney World, you can go and then you will see
masks.
Asian people in masks, whether Asian American or tourists. And you would see them wearing masks because they actually don't want to infect people if they're feeling sick in general.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that kind of pushback. And
there wasn't a social stigma involved with the wearing of masks.
It wasn't that. But it's so, he does get credit for COVID.
Yeah, mishandling
he gets all the credit for COVID. I'm placing all that credit squarely.
Handling it poorly, not telling people not to mask, telling people to go out.
It's not good credit, but
holding
it's credit.
all those rallies. He killed the dude from Papa John's.
He's dead.
Papa John?
I mean, not Papa John's. Damn, you know what I'm talking about? We don't even talk about his ass.
I was like, damn, I missed that.
No, the black guy, the only Republican.
Oh, Herman Cain.
Yeah, that's it. I forgot his ass.
Well, he was the president of the restaurant association or something.
Yeah. So Trump was out campaigning with him. He got sick with COVID, died, and they never talked about him again.
And he never went to his funeral. Not one person.
Nah. He was busy.
And
remember when he tried to kill Joe Biden knowing he had COVID when he showed up late to that debate, refusing to test?
Yeah.
Yes, his whole family did.
Original presidential debate. That was the debate after which Chris Christie ended up in the hospital for a couple of months. And he likely would have died, and Trump would have never talked about him again. But yeah, the credit Trump gets for COVID is mishandling it. I know he wants to take credit for the vaccine, Operation Warp Speed, but I got to tell you, I didn't get the Moderna vaccine, so he didn't have anything to do with anything remotely revolving around. I won't say the eradication of COVID, but returning the country.
Yeah, and considering I was in New York and he was having a dick measuring contest with my former governor. And he didn't explicitly threaten to withhold vaccines from New York.
He basically did.
I just want for clarity's sake, or for just what's the word?
No,
transparency.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. Yeah, he did also threaten to withhold vaccinations from blue states without them doing him a favor, Ukraine style. But again,
literally all he did for that initiative was say yes, do the vaccine, do it.
Right. I think some federal funding went towards the creation of the vaccines.
I'm just saying, no, but he didn't personally he didn't procure the federal funding.
No.
Or all he did was not go out of his way to thwart the efforts for a vaccine to be developed.
I can't tell you what he did do. So once the first initial mass batches of the vaccine were shipped to the United States, they didn't get it distributed correctly, and they lost something like quote
Oh
unquote,
yeah,
a
they like
million doses.
expired. They had all. Yeah, I
Well,
forgot
they
about
lost
that.
1 million, and then yes, a number of other doses expired. And
Obviously, the rich were getting them all. Read
that's
between the lines.
right. And then between the transition after he lost the election, they refused to communicate with the Biden campaign about their vaccine rollout plan. And as it turns out, when Biden took office on day one in January, they discovered there was no rollout plan. So Biden had to build the entire plan, the recovery plan from scratch, because the Trump administration didn't do shit. But in terms of that interview with Mark Levin, the carnage continues because it just never stops with this person. And this is clear. Well, actually, this is part of a rally that he held last week in Wisconsin. That's just further proof of Trump's insanity.
You take a look at bacon and some of these products, and some people don't eat bacon anymore. And we are going to get the energy prices down. When we get energy down, this was caused by their horrible energy wind. They want wind all over the place. But when it doesn't blow, we have a little problem.
And when there's no sun, we have a little problem because the sun will never come out again.
Yeah, apparently he believes wind is killing your bacon.
They want nuclear power, but what if there's no nuclear that day? What if there's no nuclear?
You can't have bacon because of wind. I don't even know what the connection is there. I think what he is. Look, I can't.
So the connection is that they're both things that relate to concerns of environmentalists. But he doesn't get the connection. That's the problem.
Okay, here's where I think he made the tangential. Yeah, I was actually going there. This might be the tangential relationship between the idea of pork consumption and green energy. I think someone must have explained to him somewhere that one of the contributors to global warming is methane production, which is, largely a byproduct of the livestock, food stock industry, which also contains pig farms. And maybe he's saying that to cut down on environmental pollution,
No, you can't explain that.
No, listen,
he doesn't understand the connection, but he's been told these things.
Someone tried to
recite some piecemeal shit back like a child would.
Yeah, he like a 5-year-old. Like a 5-year-old's understanding of someone explaining him the relationship between methane production and climate change, and he just merged that with windmills. And they also give you cancer, according to him. So that lets you know his level of acuity on these topics. Ty, when you said you wish the media would just ask him more questions, why has no one asked him about the relationship between bacon and windmills, just to get his thoughts, not even to just trash his campaign. But we have yet another video here from Trump, back to the Mark Levin interview, where he just totally does not understand how tariffs work in any fashion whatsoever.
It's not a tax on the middle class. It's a tax on another country. If you look at McKinley, who was actually a great president, he made the country rich. It's probably the richest we ever were, relatively. But he taxed countries for coming in and taking our jobs, for bringing us their product, for taking away our factories because they would make it and come in. And he taxed them. It was called a tariff. And it's not a tax on people,
So I don't even really... It is eventually a tax on people. If you place tariffs on foreign goods, what happens is retail outlets or whatever the industry is, it raises the price on what these companies pay for these foreign products. And the way they compensate for that increase in cost is by passing the increase in cost off to the consumer by raising prices. So yes, it's actually a tax on the people. But the reason why you do need tariffs in some instances is because there are industries that are, highly prominent in the United States, and to compete with foreign made products that are often made to lower standards, you do need to place tariffs on those items in order to help propel American companies to some degree of financial stability, much like Biden did with the steel industry, right? So the tariffs the Biden administration placed were targeted to certain industries where we have companies producing those items in the United States. Trump wants to place tariffs on everything, like literally everything from, food, clothes, steel, microchips, software, anything you can think of. Trump wants to place a tariff on it. And that would equate to basically a tax on the American people to something like thousands of dollars a year. It would be insane. Like, he has no idea. How was he
learned nothing from?
Yes. How was he president?
He had to bail out.
He was in the White House for 4 years.
With China.
How did he not learn anything, Ty? How did he not learn shit about how the world works? It seems impossible.
He's Trump. So
it's just like he never learned about, I know it's not technically a zero sum game, but it pretty much is. I mean, no one is gonna lose the money themselves. Didn't he go to business school?
In name, I guess, or on paper.
Like they should be so embarrassed.
I think his professor said he was the dumbest student he
that
ever
school
had.
Should be embarrassed. That Wharton should be embarrassed that they gave him a diploma.
It's funny because I think there's literally a video of Trump saying that his professor said that he was the most intelligent student that he ever had, and then the professor is on another video saying Trump was literally the dumbest student he's ever had. But again, the insanity doesn't there, as Trump was asked to comment about Hillary Clinton in her emails, and here was his response.
Now this is the United States. When it came to Hillary, you remember they subpoenaed her stuff, and she bleach bit. That's where it's basically acid.
What?
He thinks so. Hillary Clinton, after she was subpoenaed for the emails, she sent copies of those to the FBI, and then she erased the originals after being told by the FBI that it was okay to do so. She used this program called Bleach Bit, but because it has bleach in the name, Trump thinks she acid washed the server that her emails were stored on.
He said that acid went everywhere.
Oh my God. I'm so this.
I'm sorry, man. Look, if the mainstream media actually covered the shit that he says and not just like watered it down for him and prepackaged it into something that sounded normal, dude would have been polling in the 30 percentiles, a year ago. He probably wouldn't have even been the nominee, but because they refused to do their jobs. I mean, this is where we are. But at least he's now currently on track to lose. But yeah, just the idea that bleach bit is actually like a chemical and she just poured it on the server. This dude, hey man, I don't know. It's incredible.